Apple disappoints, shareholders reacting swiftly. President Obama tells some tall tales on The Daily Show. And Donald Trump gets personal with one of his Republican rivals.
From the Fox Business headquarters in New York City, here is Maria Bartiromo.
Hi, everybody. Happy Wednesday. Good morning. I'm Maria Bartiromo, and it is Wednesday, July 22nd. With me this hour, FBN AM host Sandra Smith and Rachel Campos-Duffy on the LIBRE initiative. First, though, your top stories at 7 o'clock on the East Coast. Apple shares down this morning about 6% after its fourth quarter revenue guidance missed expectations. Yet third quarter earnings did beat estimates on the profit and revenue line. Also part of the sell-off this morning on Apple, iPhone sales. The company reporting 47.5 million units of the flagship product were sold, but that still wasn't enough for some analysts who had higher expectations. CEO Tim Cook said they sold more units than they thought they would, and the iPhone, quote, did exceptionally well. Nonetheless, Apple shares are up 40% year over year, but down this morning.
With the IRS. Look, you got this back office, and they're going after the Tea Party. Well, it turned out no. Congress had passed a crummy law that didn't give people guidance in terms of what it was they were trying to do. They did it poorly and stupidly, but that becomes. But
you really do have only a year left. That's unbelievable. But throwing it out there.
President Obama making his final appearance on The Daily Show last night with Jon Stewart. The president took the moment to blame Congress for the IRS targeting scandal. Blake Berman will tell us all about that coming up. Former Hewlett-Packard CEO Carly Fiorina looking for her chance to take the White House in 2016. We will talk with her in just a few minutes right here on the set. The Federal Communications Commission approving the DirecTV AT&T deal for $48.5 billion. But the FCC wants something out of it for customers. The government agency told the two companies to build a network 10 times the size of AT&T's current network of fiber optic cable. Executives at Fiat Chrysler hot under the collar this morning after two researchers were able to hack into the software of a Jeep SUV and control its speed. The researchers, one of which is a former NSA analyst, say this is an industry-wide problem and they are just trying to bring attention to it. Boeing set to release its second quarter earnings next hour. Analysts are looking for year-over-year increase in overall revenue, but a decrease in earnings for the aircraft manufacturer. The Dow component stock is up nearly 4.5% just in the month of July. Coca-Cola also out with second quarter earnings this morning. The stock is up nearly 5% for the month of July. Many saying that the strong dollar will hurt the Dow component as Coca-Cola does a majority of its revenue overseas, making it vulnerable to currency swings abroad. We are waiting for those numbers to come out. Meanwhile, the futures indicating a weaker opening for the broader averages. We will see further selling on top of yesterday's big sell-off on the heels of these weaker than expected earnings coming out of the tech sector, in particular Apple and IBM. Golf's newest star, Jordan Spieth, fell short of winning the British Open, but he still had a chance to drink from the claret jug, the British Open's trophy. Spieth took a flight home with winner Zach Johnson, and Johnson's caddy posted this picture to Facebook. Back to our top story of the day. Apple selling 47.5 million iPhones in the most recent quarter, missing expectations. The stock getting punished this morning in the pre-market. Also hurting investor sentiment on Apple. No Apple Watch sales numbers. All the company said was, quote, sales exceeded internal expectations since the April launch. Another problem when the stock opens for trading, the company's forecast for the next quarter. That was below expectations. Could this be the beginning of a weak trend for Apple? Sandra Smith, looking at what you're hearing out of Wall Street this morning.
Yeah, I was looking really closely because most analysts did identify it as one of the major problems for Apple was China. And Tim Cook, if you were looking for the bright spot in the earnings call, it was Tim Cook definitely was saying that, the China story has been exaggerated as far as the slowdown in the economy there. And they're actually quite confident that the Chinese sales of their products are going to continue to do very well. Meanwhile, you've got the Apple Watch. We really don't know how well that's doing. I'm looking at our wrist here. Oh, you've got it on?
I got it on.
Okay, so Rachel's got one on. And do you like it?
I do, but I think what's more important, forget the earnings. My kids love it, and they think I'm cool because I have one.
But then why aren't they giving us numbers? Because they obviously are touting that this thing is doing really well.
I don't know. I'll say this. I would never bet against Apple and their ability to create products that we don't even know we need yet and that make parents feel cool with their kids.
It's true.
But I mean, the one thing that they did say, Maria, and this is, of course, you always have to, Apple's going to put the best spin on everything, is that the Watch sales are selling at a faster pace than the iPhone and the iPad when they were first launched. That's pretty much the only color that they gave, and you have to take that with a grain of salt because that's Apple.
And they don't want to give you any more specifics on that. I mean, it is new, but maybe are they not going to break out the Apple Watch from the other products? At some point they will.
Right, and this has been the big test as far as Tim Cook, post Steve Jobs. Can this company continue to innovate as it once was? That's always been the big question. But I got to tell you, as far as Wall Street analysts right now are still calling for this stock to continue to go higher despite its valuations, despite it being, arguably expensive, and whether or not they're going to be able to innovate. People, the analysts still like it, and investors still like it. Everybody likes to buy what they know, just like Rachel's saying.
Can we talk about the cash on the balance sheet, though, for a second?
Sure.
More than $200 billion in cash on the balance sheet. What are they going to do with it? Much of it overseas. Yeah. But what are they going to do in terms of acquisitions, in terms of filling in growth?
They didn't give a lot of color on the conference call as far as that, but that's a really big question with a lot of these technology companies that we know are sitting on hordes of cash. What are they going to do to it? How are they going to put this to work over the next couple of years? So no real clear indication from Apple. They're always very tight-lipped on that sort of thing, but yeah, sitting on a lot of cash.
Rachel, do you end up sending emails from your watch?
It's so funny. My kids are still trying to teach me how to use it, so I haven't figured that part out yet. So what is it doing for you yet, right now? What is it doing? Right now, it's a very pretty bracelet. No, I can check, when texts come through and if I don't have my phone next to me. But I'm still, I'm still figuring it out. There's a learning curve to it.
Rachel, it sounds like you're not really using it, and that you're not on it. Maybe that's the problem. Nobody knows what to do with it.
But if it lays on the counter, it will instantly get snatched up by my son, who will start figuring things out and go, see, Mom, it does this, it does that. So
very cool. It looks good, by the way. President Obama making his final appearance on The Daily Show last night with Jon Stewart, making some interesting claims about the IRS targeting scandal. Blake Berman with the latest right now in Washington. Good morning to you, Blake.
Hi there, Maria. Good morning again. President Obama asserted to Jon Stewart on The Daily Show last night that the real scandal with the IRS is how poorly it's been funded. The president said the IRS was not targeting the Tea Party, and he had some very choice words for Congress. Take a listen here.
You got this back office, and they're going after the Tea Party. Well, it turned out no. Congress had passed a crummy law that didn't give people guidance in terms of what it was they were trying to do. They did it poorly and stupidly.
However, as you know, the IRS Inspector General 2 years ago said the IRS developed, quote, inappropriate criteria when focusing on conservative groups and cited ineffective management. The scandal has prompted Capitol Hill hearings and scrutiny from the Justice Department. What can't be disputed, Maria, is the IRS has been busy collecting taxpayer money. It's taken in $2.4 trillion in the first 9 months of this fiscal year. That is a record.
That sure is a record. Thank you so much, Blake Berman. Rachel, the president now just flat out denying that the IRS did anything wrong.
It's so unbelievable. Even Lois Lerner didn't say that they didn't do anything wrong. Right. This is complete revisionist history. And again, he said, as he said, they took in record numbers of dollars in tax dollars, and he's saying the IRS needs more money. I think this is shameful that he's doing this in his last few months, trying to rewrite history on this. And it's very clear. I mean, the other thing that I found interesting about the interview was Jon Stewart referred to himself as the media. I mean, look how comfortable he looks on that show. Jon Stewart has had the president 7 times on the show. That's more times than most journalists. That's more times than he's visited Congress.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
They had scripted jokes for sure. The executive order. I mean, the timing, the comedic timing was very good. I'll give the president some credit.
He's comfortable there, right? He doesn't have to get any tough questions.
Yeah, but I mean, it's interesting that Jon Stewart would just leave it be on the IRS thing, and just, the president denied it, and then Jon Stewart doesn't come back at all and say, well, we'll never know because Lois Lerner's, server crashed and we can't get these emails. So there was no follow-up.
It didn't just crash, then they destroyed the computers.
Destroyed all those emails.
Again, he's a friend of Obama's, and he doesn't have to be held to the same journalistic integrity that you have to be held. And that's why he likes to go there.
And that's why he always goes on the show. And that's why he's done it 7 times.
That's right.
And Jon Stewart's like, I'm checking out, so no follow-up questions from me.
Yeah, I mean,
he's out of there at the beginning of August, right?
Probably handed him a fundraising check as he left. I mean, these are buddies.
Yeah, but the other thing is, I mean, when you talk about what the president has to do next, I mean, he's got 18 months, and he could probably be more dangerous in these next 18 months.
Yeah,
I mean, he just did a deal with Iran, and, you know, this, of course, is getting lots of criticism. Now he says he wants to target global warming.
Yeah. I don't know if it was in that soundbite, but Jon Stewart joked with him about having senioritis, which is exactly what, you know, we fear that he has, that he's going to goof off, and really you have to, this is going to be an important next few months for the White House. But if anything, Maria, this should write the campaign speeches for the coming months for the presidential candidates on the GOP side. They should be touting a transparent administration. After what you just saw and what you just talked about the IRS, I mean, transparency, truthfulness with the American people, that's what they're looking for right now. That's where Hillary Clinton is not rating strongly in the polls. People say she's not trustworthy. So there's certainly a gap there, and that's really, I think, where, you know, the campaigns should be targeting.
I think you're right. I think he's going to be dangerous in the next few months. He's kind of unhinged. You saw sort of the passive aggressiveness this week with the raising the flag after Chattanooga. You know, he raised it right away after the Fort Hood shooting. He didn't do it here, I think, because he doesn't have an election. And so he can do these kinds of things that make people scratch their head and go, why are you doing it? And as far as global warming, that does worry me, because right now he has been getting a lot of interesting moral authority from Pope Francis and a lot of the international community. So I think beware. That's a real touchy subject.
Absolutely. I agree with you. Coming up next on Mornings, the latest on the race for the White House. Former Hewlett-Packard CEO and GOP hopeful Carly Fiorina is here next. Take a look at some of the other big headlines topping the Wall Street Journal this morning. Lawmakers are eyeing tax revamps for U.S. firms overseas. They're looking to change how we tax our multinationals. Medicare screening faltered. A new report says thousands of doctors who bill Medicare used questionable addresses. And bosses are rushing to get ahead of overtime proposals. Companies working to track how many hours their employees really work. Later this hour, we're looking at investing for the long term with Merrill Lynch Wealth Management head John Thiel joining us. Coming up. Back in a moment.
You know,
you're on your way out.
I can't believe that you're leaving before me. I'm issuing a new executive order that Jon Stewart cannot leave the show. It's being challenged in the courts.
Yes.